pew, 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 pew. What is up, everybody? It is Brian with First Shot Tactical, back with another video for you here today. And today we are going to be going over how to take apart and clean your MP5 or MP5 clone. This is a PTR model. This will work across the board with any of the MP5 clones though, SP5, AP5, and show you how to clean it, lubricate it, put it back together, and get it ready for the range. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, over at the workbench here now, let's go ahead and go over what you might need to get this done today. So first thing over here on the left, we're going to be using hops number 9 to clean and get all that gunk out of it. It's a good cleaner. We're going to use some REM oil as well, and this will help lubricate it at the end when we are all finished. I have some small Q-tips or cotton swabs to get into the nooks and crannies to clean. As well, I have a toothbrush to go ahead and get some of the gunk out as well. And then I also have a punch and mallet. Depending on how used your MP5 is, this pin can be difficult to take out. So sometimes I just use a punch and a mallet to get it on, as well as put the brace back on. And then also we have a just dirty cloth or a microfiber cloth to go ahead and wipe around and get things off. And lastly, I have a cleaning rod to feed through the barrel, as well some patches to put on it, so that way we can get the barrel cleaned out as well. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so the first thing we're going to want to do is make sure your gun's clear. Obviously, most important, safety. Check it, and you can see there's nothing in there. And so we are clear. And the first thing we want to do is take off our brace or whatever you have on the back here. And again, this is where I like to use a punch and mallet because mine's a little bit stiff here. So I'll put the punch on the pin there, give it a couple taps. And then once it's coming up, you can see right here, I actually put my punch back through. If I can find the hole, there we go. And then give it a couple karate chops. There we go. And then now it should come right out. There you go. Ooh, tough. Again, depending on your MP5, probably a lot easier to take out, but mine is still a little stiff. So we got our pin out. Now we can go ahead and pull the rear assembly off. And also note that you want this in the forward position. Don't have it locked back, have it forward, otherwise your spring might shoot off. So we'll slide the brace off and we'll set this aside for now. And then we can actually go ahead and pull out all of our lower actually comes off. This just swings right off, pulls off as well. Depending if you have a SP5 or a different lower, you might have a pin down here, but for the most part, most of these clones, it's just a swivel off. So we can set that aside. And then now we can go ahead and pull out our bolt carrier group and set that down. So from that standpoint, we are almost field stripped. Let's take this part apart and we should be good to go. All right, now that we're to this step, first thing we want to do, or the next thing we want to do rather, is take apart our bolt carrier group here. We have our roller delayed bolt carrier group, and to do so, we need to, as you see, these two parts are separate. We want to separate the silver one from the black. So to do so, we're going to turn this in a clockwise motion and pull off. So it might happen all in one step here, but remember, you want to turn clockwise and pull away, and it should go. So I'm going to turn clockwise, as you see there, and then you see there's a spring, and it shoots it apart like that. And then once you're at that, this part is all stripped. This is good to go. And then we can grab the silver part, and we have a couple other pieces here. There's actually our firing pin, and you can take the spring off it as well. Set those there. And then this part actually comes apart as well, like that. And that's where the firing pin sits in there. So we'll want to make sure and get all that cleaned out. But after that, we are now fully field stripped and we are good to start cleaning. So at this part, we can grab our hops number 9 and a Q-tip and go ahead and put it on and start cleaning everything. I normally like to use a toothbrush, but basically lather on the hops number 9 on everything, especially in the gunk spots. So I'll actually take the hops, take a toothbrush, just kind of dunk it in like brushing your teeth. Set that aside, and we're going to hit all the main components we need to. So obviously all our trigger parts, or bolt carrier group, get it on there so that way it can start working its magic, as well as the rest of the bolt carrier group. Put it on the back as well, and then also our firing pin, lather it on so that way it can clean that. And then as well on the rest of our bolt carrier group, go ahead and clean it on. Anything you see, you know, that looks like gunk on there, use the toothbrush, work it around, loosen it up, and get some lubrication, or I guess cleaner, on it too. So that's all I do for those parts. The trigger pack here, you can see there's a lot of grime, so depending on how clean you want to get clean, you could actually take the trigger pack out further from the housing and clean further down in there. But for this part, I'm just going to be doing a general cleaning. So again, just kind of working the toothbrush, and we're going to work the cotton swab around and clean everything, or at least right now I'm just putting the hops number 9 on everything so that way it can start to loosen things up. And then I will use a rag to wipe everything off. Same thing for in the top part here where the barrel is. A lot of gunk down in there. So I'm actually going to open up my hops, get another little swig of cleaner, get it down in by the barrel, and we'll clean that further later, and then get all in this housing. If you see any gunk as well, make sure that's clean, and as well the magazine well. And again, I'm just kind of getting it on there, just kind of like toothpaste, like I'm using a toothbrush, getting it on there and then letting it sit for a little bit to do some cleaning, and then I'm going to wipe it with a rag to make sure and get the rest off there. This sometimes has a little bit of gunk in the back here. Same thing. I'm just going to work some number 9, hops number 9 on there, let it loosen it up, and then I'm going to wipe it off with the rag later as well. So once you have everything lubed up with some hops number 9, or I shouldn't say lubed up, with some cleaner on there, now I like to take a microfiber cloth and just wipe them down real good to get the rest of the gunk off there. So I'll start with the bolt carrier group and the firing pin, and again I have a bunch of hops on here, so I'm just going to wipe it down, make sure it's clean, and I can actually put a cotton swab down in that, clean out that, because that's where the firing pin goes. Want to make sure that that's cleaned out on both ends as well. So we got that guy, and again, how clean is clean? You can kind of do this all day if you want and nitpick it. I'm just kind of doing a general one for this video, so that way you guys can see what you need to do and what spots you need to hit more specifically. So again, obviously you want to get this part, where the extractor is, and you can take this extractor out, but if you do, you have to replace it. So I wouldn't recommend taking this out until, you know, after shooting quite a few rounds, but for now, leave it in there. Someday down the road, after, you know, tens of thousands of rounds, probably need to swap that out, and you might be actually having some extracting issues, to give you a heads up to make sure and get that swapped out. So again, just kind of making sure everything's clean. You can use the Q-tip, get down in the grooves a little better, and that should be good. Now let's grab the firing pin. We're going to grab it here. Again, making sure it's clean. Don't want to see any black on there. And mine wasn't too dirty to begin with, because I cleaned this pretty regularly. But again, same point. This is just helping you guys see what you need to clean. So you're going to see quite a bit of gunk on this guy here. So just a heads up here, might need to work the toothbrush a little bit more, depending on how bad it is. But just make sure and get most of that off. So I'm going to go ahead and scrub this down a little bit more, and we'll be right back. So I got all the bolt carrier group and firing pin wiped down real good. Now I'm just going to get the trigger housing. And again, I'm just doing a general cleaning here. I know there's a lot more gunk under there, and if I wanted to get real technical, I could take this trigger housing up and out of here and obviously get all that gunk better. But for now, I'm just getting it with a rag and telling you guys how to do it to make this video hopefully a little bit shorter. But again, you can use your Q-tip to get down there, and you can see all that little debris in there. But just trying to clean out as best we can any of those spots. We can actually put our hammer forward, and again, using a Q-tip, you can get down in the springs, clean that out, and anywhere else. So basically, whatever you can get to, clean, and if you can't reach it, I wouldn't bother too much. It should be fine. So just do that for the trigger housing, and then now let's go ahead and get to the barrel. So now for the barrel, this is where you're going to need your wire thingy that cleans the barrels, and I'm going to go ahead and I already put some hops on this cloth here, and I'm just going to feed it through the slit so that way it can feed through. And then now I'm going to grab our whole barrel or upper part here, move some of that out of the way, and then all I'm going to do is feed it through the actual barrel. So once you find the spot, you can go ahead and push it through. You'll see it come out the other end, and you can just pull it all the way through. And again, depending on how clean you want to get it, you can do this a couple times. And I typically only run it through this way as far as cleaning. I don't go the opposite way because this is the way all the projectiles and bullets come out of it. So I like to keep everything pushing in the same direction. Some people don't care and they'll go in that way, but I think general rule of thumb is to only go in that way. So again, you can do that several times, clean out that barrel, and you can inspect it, make sure it looks good or to your liking, and then we can go ahead and move on. So once you follow those steps, everything is now clean, or should be. Again, I'm just doing a general one, but you guys can take more time and obviously clean everything a little bit more deep. But now let's go ahead and just lubricate everything and we'll get it back together. So I like to take a cotton swab, and then I got the rem oil I'm going to use. I'll spray some on the end of the cotton swab, and we'll start with the trigger housing. Anything that you see that has wear on it, like this part here on the hammer, the extractor swivel, this actually swivels back and forth. I'll actually spray some on there. To make sure that it's lubricated good. There we go. And then I normally just spray some down in the springs down there, so that way everything is freed up. Come on, can. There we go. And get enough lubricant on that. And again, this is just rem oil, and make sure all those springs are shiny and lubed so that way they go well. And I probably put a little too much there, so I'll just dab it a little bit, but hey, doesn't hurt too bad. So trigger housing, that's it for that. Just wherever you can reach with the Q-tip and where you see springs and wear, that's where we're going to be lubricating. And now let's go ahead and get to the bolt carrier group. For the bolt carrier group, same thing. I'm going to get a new cotton swab, put some rem oil on the end here, and anything that moves, we want to go ahead and lubricate up. So here's our firing pin. This will have the spring on it. We can actually start reassembling a little bit as we go. Put that there. And we have our where the firing pin sits. So I want to get in the hole because that'll slide back and forth, as well as the end. Make sure that's lubed up. And then this actually pivots back and forth in there. So I'm going to get both ends of that as well. That should be good. And this is the rollers. So we definitely want to make sure, and I'll actually spray inside here. Get both the rollers and just in general this whole housing, because that piece is going to slide back and forth in here. So we want to make sure that everything is lubricated properly. As well, on all these rails here, you see I missed a little bit of dirt there, but that's all right. Again, I'm just doing a general cleaning. Outside here, this is going to go back and forth through the upper part and the extractor as well. Once we have that, then we can grab this part. And again, anything you see with some wear, like right here, we're going to get along those rails. On this bottom part, put some lubricant there. On this part as well. And then again, same thing on this side. Make sure everything's lubricated good. And as well on the inside, because it's going to rest in here and pivot back and forth once it's all put back together. So good to go from that. And then lastly, we can go ahead and get our barrel. And same thing, well, I guess barrel and upper, same thing here. Grab a little bit of rem oil on a cotton swab, and we're just going to be wiping the whole inside here and making sure that it's lubricated. And I actually forgot to wipe down this whole section in here with the rag, so I might actually go back through, make sure this is cleaned out from the rem oil first before lubricating it. So give me one sec here. All right, we're back, got that part cleaned out. Just again, we're just lubricating with the rem oil all inside here, because that the bolt carrier group is going to go back and forth through here, and just want to make sure that that's lubed up and you should be good. So from that standpoint, we are now all lubed up and we can begin the reassembly. Let's start with the bolt carrier group here. So we have our firing pin and this little guy here. It's going to go through like that, and you can see the spring there, and then this is where it'll actually punch through. And then we want to grab our bolt here, and this will go through the backside. And there's only one way this will go through. You can see it won't feed right there. So if I switch it, it will feed. So again, there is a right and wrong way, and it'll give you a heads up if you have the right spot. Once you have that, you can grab the rest of the bolt carrier group here. And again, we had to twist and put this on. So we're going to be doing kind of the same thing but reversed here. And you need to depress one of the rollers here to get this to go on. So once you have it lined up here, I had to figure it out myself there real quick, had a brain fart. So basically have the numbers, look how I'm holding it right here, have the numbers here on the outside. You're going to push, you're going to actually hold this roller in. Alright, once you're to this step here, you want to go ahead and push this roller down, push everything together, and then turn it. And then let go. And you're good to go. You need to make sure and push down that roller, otherwise it's nearly impossible to put it back on. So push the roller down, push together, and then twist back, and you should be good to go now. All set for the bolt carrier group. So once we got our bolt carrier group put together like we just did, we can grab the upper portion and just feed it through the rear, and it'll drop right in like so. And from there we can grab the trigger housing with everything in it, and you want to make sure that the hammer is back to put it together. So just a heads up from that. Start by dropping it at the front pivot point, and then it should just slide right up in until you can match the holes up there. Actually, I think I have it off a little bit. There we go. And again, just want to make sure that that hole is lined up. And then now we can grab our brace or end piece that you have on, slide this together, and then we're going to play the game of just lining up the hole. You might need to use a mallet sometimes to put this on, but once you get the hole lined up, looks like we're about good there, maybe a little bit off, we can go ahead and finagle this through. Again, sometimes I'll just use the mallet. Might have to wiggle it a little bit. Once you have it started, you can check it. Looks like we need to just whack the brace in a little bit and then keep pushing it through. There we go. Almost there. Come on. Give it one more whack on this side. Couple more. There we go. Now it's through. Again, mine's stiffer. Yours might be looser and easier to get in and out, but mine's a little tough. But there we go. Now we are all back together. We have a fully cleaned and lubricated MP5 or MP5 Clone, all good to go to hit the range. So if you guys have questions or any issues with the disassembly or cleaning, let me know. Always happy to help down in the comments. And if this was helpful, like and subscribe to the channel. I'll have some videos shooting this MP5 as well as some other ones because it's such a fun platform to shoot. And stay tuned for those. But in the meantime, have fun shooting, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.